back to another episode of EnergiaSaves podcast. We have lots of fun in these podcasts is talking about innovative ways that school districts are transforming their energy liabilities into educational assets. I'm your host, Kenley Davenport, and I have with me my co-host, Kendra McQuilton. Say hello, Kendra.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back. Hi, Kenley.
Hello, Kendra. It's really good to see you today. You know, I think today's episode is one of my all-time favorites when we get a chance to do this. It's really, we get so many questions from our clients when we do these podcasts, and I wanted to sort of highlight the top questions that we've been getting over the last few weeks. And I thought I would take this episode, Kendra, to tell you these questions we've been experiencing and have you maybe help us with the answers. Is that fair?
Sounds good.
Well, the number one question we're hearing most often when people talk to us at Energia, they ask us, "Are you an ESCO?" Kendra, can you explain the difference between Energia and an ESCO? Because to me, it's obvious, but obviously some of our customers don't get it yet.
Sure, Kenley. Yeah, we've been getting this or confused with ESCOs for a long time. And I think that it's because we offer such a niche, unique type of service that people actually don't realize, what it is that we offer and how it differs from the ESCOs. And we're trying to change that. And this podcast is one way that we're trying to do that. So Energia is not an ESCO. We are the school district's representatives. So we work for the school district and we help the school district every step of the way throughout an energy performance contract. And what we're really doing is lending expertise to the district side of the table. So what we do is we help the district procure an ESCO, select an ESCO. We worked with all the ESCOs more or less. So we know not only how to evaluate their proposals from the numbers and energy calculations point of view, but also just the personalities of the different ESCOs and who we think, is best suited for that particular district's personality, goals, objectives, and so forth. So we really like to think of ourselves as a complement to the ESCO, because what we also do is we help interpret what is sometimes very technical information coming from the ESCO in a way that the school district can understand. And so sometimes we may challenge, the information that the ESCO is putting forth, but in a lot of situations, we're helping the ESCO convey the benefits of a particular approach or of a particular piece of equipment or strategy to the school district in a way that they feel comfortable accepting. So it really kind of levels the playing field as far as expertise in one of these projects, so that the district is on solid ground and, everybody, all parties get a fair, clear, understandable project that everybody is comfortable with in the end.
Thank you, Kendra. I wish I could bottle that up, because we ought to maybe send that little bit of this podcast to every customer asked that question. And very well done in describing our differences. The number two question we get the most often we hear is, "I've heard your service is at no cost to the district." How is that possible, Kendra?
Well, we do get paid. However, the way our business model works is that we work at risk getting a school district to the point of signing a contract with one of the ESCOs. And these ESCOs are Johnson Controls, Honeywell, Noresco, big companies usually that will actually do the construction on the EPC and guarantee the savings. So what we do is we work at risk running the RFP for those companies, evaluating the responses, helping the district negotiate a fair, transparent contract with with whatever company they select. And then our fees are funded by the ESCO that the school district selects. We're not choosing the ESCO. We are just making what is very complex and technical information when it comes to the project, the scope, the statute, and all of those different factors. We're making that understandable for the district. We're giving them pros and cons. And then they select the ESCO that they're most comfortable with. So There are no out-of-pocket costs for Energia's service. We bundle our fees into the financing, and they are then funded out of the financing by the Esko that the school district ultimately selects. So it's very easy to get started with Energia because you're not going to have to come up with any funding in order for us to help you explore if this is a good option for your school district.
Thanks, Kendra, for that great response. I appreciate that a lot. Hey, the third most important question we're hearing is, can a district do more than one EPC? Or does the legislation only allow for a one-time deal?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Definitely get this question a lot. And really, it all depends on the advancement of energy efficient technology. So that means that these deals are really financial at their heart. Can you save enough energy by replacing X lighting with Y lighting to generate funding to pay for other upgrades that are needed and those upgrades themselves? So it's not true that you can only do one EPC and then not do one again for the entire project term. It's only true that you can't do another one until you can garner enough of a savings opportunity, an additional savings opportunity with the advancement of technologies to do another one. So what we help districts explore is, let's just say they did an EPC 10 years ago. And we're doing a lot of these projects right now where projects that were done 7 years ago, they don't have LED lighting in them. That wasn't available back then. We know now that even though they did an EPC 7 years ago, because LED lighting is available now, we can save them 50% on the lighting that was state-of-the-art 7 years ago that went in with their original EPC, thus generating a ton of savings that can justify an additional EPC. So numbers have to be reviewed, certainly, and that's a big part of what we do. We're certainly not going to send a district down the road if it doesn't make sense, but it's not correct to think that, okay, we did an EPC and now we have to wait the full 15 or 20-year term on the financing in order to do another one. It has nothing to do with the financing. It has everything to do with how much additional savings opportunities are there at the district. And we help districts figure that out.
Thanks. Another important question we always get, and we hear this often, is I've heard nightmare stories about EPCs. Kendra, what's different today?
Well, like any project, when a school district doesn't have a strong project team in place, and this is not a knock on the ESCOs, they're great companies, but when there aren't layers of review and there's not any expertise on the district side, really, that's when projects don't turn out the way they usually, thought that they would. And so what's different today is that there are companies like Energia that sit in between the school district and the ESCO and just help make sure that the district's expectations are set properly, that they don't have unrealistic expectations of the ESCO, that they know what they're getting into, that they're comfortable with it so the project comes to full fruition. And then, it's important that the ESCO is held accountable for the calculations that they put forth. We want to make sure that they're real, they're measurable, these savings goals are attainable. And so we find that it's a very successful process now when we have, that kind of balance within a project team. And our projects are successful because we make sure that, everybody is comfortable with what they're doing. And I think that's, the missing piece that often happens when people are not satisfied or upset with the outcome of projects because they didn't really have that balance going on the whole way through.
Yeah, one of the things we often hear is that because of that insight, we take a lot of burden and risk away from the school district themselves. So really comprehensive answer there, Kendra. And hey, my last question before we close out this podcast is, how can I tell if my district's a good candidate for an EPC?
Sure. A lot of districts are, but not every single school district is. And so a school district needs to have a decent amount of square footage. Generally, a district with 2-3 buildings is not going to have the square footage and the savings opportunities to justify going through this process, because there are fixed costs associated with the project. So they might be better off, for example, just doing a lighting retrofit. But for districts that are larger than that and they haven't done LED, I can tell them all right now, you're sitting on a gold mine right now. I don't need to know anything else about your district. If you have not updated to LED, that's a tremendous funding source that can be used to then pay for other upgrades like boilers, windows, roofs, and lighting, and all HVAC and all kinds of other things that you need to address. So that's a quick answer, but what we do with any interested district is we'll sit down with them, review their goals, review their site-specific situation with energy spend, energy consumption, and give them a comprehensive review of where do you stand and what could you actually be looking at in terms of size and scope of an EPC project.
Well, thanks, Kendra. This has been my favorite episode always, because we get to answer all the top questions that we're getting from, all the people that are thinking about these projects and throughout the United States. So I just want to, again, thank you for your insight into this process. I want to remind our audience that if you have questions that we can address for you in a future podcast episode, please feel free to send us an email at questions@EnergiaSaves.com. And we look forward to having you come and visit with us. Please subscribe to our podcast so that you can keep up with what we're talking about on a weekly and monthly basis. So again, thanks for joining our podcast. Kendra, thanks again for being my co-host and sitting alongside me in this process.
My pleasure, Kenley. Thank you. And thanks everyone for tuning in.
Goodbye, everyone.